Good morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this morning, Saturday morning, up the lark. That's Sunday morning, isn't it, as the song goes? Anyway, good morning, welcome back to the channel. Martin O'Neill is, as reported by Sky and various other media outlets, will be the next Celtic manager. And something that we're all really that's Sunday morning, isn't it, as the song goes, really happy about, aren't we? But it does come with a little moment. When we look at the timeline of events over the last week, Sean Maloney was spotted at Celtic Park with a suit on, going in for an interview. It was widely reported that Sean Maloney would be taking a position upstairs at Celtic. It was the Celtic fans were expecting Sean Maloney to be announced in some capacity with a job upstairs, and Martin O'Neill above him. And pardon, perfect, thank you. And then it was announced. Well, it was leaked that Robbie Keane was going to be lined up to be the manager. Robbie Keane's backroom staff was going to be Johnny Hayes, Scott Brown, and Stephen Glass. Now, Johnny Hayes he works at Celtic anyway. Johnny Hayes is the assistant manager of the B team at Celtic. So nothing will really change there, or will it? Because Sean Maloney may not be in the dugout beside Martin O'Neill next season. So Martin O'Neill will be looking for a number two. Will it be Scott Brown? Scott Brown was linked to be in the building with Robbie Keane and Stephen Glass. I don't think Stephen Glass will come to the club, but would Martin O'Neill bring in Scott Brown? It's an interesting one. And then, obviously, Gavin Strachan, he will retain his position at the club, as always. Johnny Hayes, it was Johnny Hayes a month ago that released the information on his LinkedIn, and he put the picture. It was Johnny Hayes' pictures that went over the internet. I'll take a screenshot of it for you. This was the picture that got everyone talking and got everyone saying, was this meeting pre-planned? Because let's face it, a brilliant few days spent at Robbie Keane's old club for the Scottish FA Coach Education Pro Licence Club visit. We couldn't have made it. We couldn't have been made to feel more welcome. Great to see guys both on and off the pitch. I'm delighted to see them progress to the cup final. Thanks again, Stephen Glass. Thanks again, Stephen Glass. And let me just get with that. I'll get that up on the screen so that you can see it this morning. And this comes straight from his LinkedIn. So we all know that picture. That's the picture that done the rounds. That's the source that everyone was getting the picture from, was his LinkedIn. But what does it say for Martin O'Neill? Does he bring in Scott Brown to learn a bit more from the legend that is Martin O'Neill? I think that Martin O'Neill would be a fantastic mentor for Scott, because let's face it, he's stepped into management, and you've got to say fair play to Stephen Glass, because Stephen Glass was the manager at he was Scott Brown's manager up at Aberdeen. I know when you think about managers having a managerial position and then going back and stepping back and becoming an assistant manager, it just shows you that even someone like Stephen Glass, could Scott Brown do it? Could Scott Brown come to be the number two for Martin O'Neill? That is the big question that needs answered. And I'm sure Celtic will tell us on Monday, once the stock market has opened and they tell the stock market exactly what's going on. You've got to remember that there was no smoke without fire, and the fact that they were all linked to coming in to work beside Robbie Keane, it does make it interesting. Now, even Big Chris Sutton's been getting in on the act. He said, good news that Martin is staying on has been reported, but only But only, says Chris Sutton, he says, only if he has the same power as he had the first time round as a manager. Still so many other aspects needing sorted. Recruitment. Let's hope we hear of a clear plan going forward from now on. So even Chris Sutton does not believe that this board will fully back Martin O'Neill. I mean, do you fully back a manager that's maybe only going to be here for a year? Do you give him 30, 40 million pounds to spend? Will Martin O'Neill have the same power as he had back in the early 2000s to demand the type of player that he wants at the club? I suppose there's one good thing that will come from it is we will find out um, how much power he really has within the next couple of weeks, because he'll need to get down to business as soon as possible. There's still nothing from Celtic as expected, because it was announced after the stock exchange had closed last night, and Celtic, being a PLC, would have to wait until officially putting out the information on the Monday morning. I'm quite surprised that they leaked the information out to the media in the first place, though. It is an interesting one. But anyway, there is a little bit of other Celtic news with regards to transfers, and he's not at Celtic anymore, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, tell me how you feel this morning over Martin O'Neill getting the job. John Hartson said, it says, brilliant news that Martin is back, and has concluded his post with a thumbs up. And yeah, John Hartson pleased. So, like the rest of us, they're all pleased that Martin is back. And we'll just need to wait and see what the club do going forwards. How much power does Martin O'Neill have, and will he get the big striker that he requires at Celtic? There'll be a lot of changes, because he wasn't happy with so many players at Celtic Park. When you look at now, Michelangelo Balikwisha, he is a player that Martin O'Neill said, heard that Martin O'Neill is only temporary and that DD will be manager before the season starts. Also, DD is going to replace Calmack as captain, with Ross Dermott and Dyson Maeda going forward. Always on the ball, always on the ball. Of course, you back him, Baz. The man walks on water for some fans. You would hope that Celtic have a plan going forward. Because I think that when you look at the timeline of events over the last week, Sean Maloney was interviewed on the Monday. Robbie Keane was interviewed Tuesday, Wednesday. Martin O'Neill was interviewed later on. It came out that Robbie Keane had sought assurances from Dermot Desmond and Martin O'Neill that he would be backed. So all the noises that were coming out of Celtic via the media was suggesting that Martin O'Neill was getting ready to take up the position upstairs, and with Robbie Keane on the firing line. To me, it looks more like that it was Robbie Keane decided, no, this just isn't worth it for me and my family. The outrage and the potential. He knows how crazy the some section of our fans can be, and he maybe thought, do you know what, I'm not going to take the job. And that's kind of put pressure on Martin O'Neill and Dermot Desmond, going, look, Martin, he's not taking the job. You have to take it. Can you take it for a year or two? Martin O'Neill would then look for assurances as well. Martin O'Neill's not going to come in and be told, don't know, he's not really want to take on a project, will he? Martin O'Neill will want to come in and build the foundations of a fantastic team to go on and achieve great success for the club. And you would hope that he would bring in a number two that would maybe help with that succession. Maybe there is a bit of succession planning going on over this weekend. You never know. And he was always getting the job if he wanted it. Any other scenario would have made the French Revolution look like a skirmish. I think, yeah, it was always Martin O'Neill if he wanted it, but I think his preference would have been to go upstairs. But you never know. We never know. We'll never find out. This is the thing. It's one of those situations that it was the exact same as the guy who ended up going to Newcastle that Celtic chased for months and months and months. There was talks, there was talks, there was talks, there was talks, and there was talks, and there was talks that went on for absolutely ever. And then when he said no, Celtic went like that and got in Ange Postecoglou. That's how quick that these things happen. So for me, there is no smoke without fire that Robbie Keane was a serious contender for taking up the manager's role. But like we say, Celtic will never tell us the truth, what really, really, really went on. Maybe Robbie Keane will in a few months' time in an interview with someone else. At least I was a bit more relaxed getting up this morning, says Gav Boy. Had a nice winner on the Nags yesterday. Dyson won at 61. Brother Wilfred is running today. There you go. If you're into your horses. Praise be the Lord. Martin O'Neill is the man. Clearly, recruitment must change. Don't know if Martin O'Neill will get what he needs. Well, you kind of hope he gets what he needs. Do you know what? We were talking on WhatsApp last night, one of the chats, and I don't know, it's a bigger rebuild than Martin will not want to go out and bring in Joe Mavukas, you know, and Tam the Czech type players. He will want to go out and get players that he knows that are almost at the top of their game, if not at the top of their game. It's going to be interesting. And there's one thing for sure. See that big chunk of cash that's sitting in the bank? That will be tested to the limit by Martin O'Neill. Martin O'Neill will bulk up the squad with some size and muscle. Too many lightweights in the current squad. Yes, exactly. And it's something that we've all been going on about. We get bullied, especially in the midfield. You know, remember last year we were linked with a big French beefy midfielder holding midfield role. It's just it's going to be interesting. And I tell you one thing, once Martin O'Neill is announced officially by Celtic, once the stock exchange opens on Monday morning, it will be everyone will be watching the World Cup and trying to spot a player or two that Celtic may be after. They have no plan whatsoever. If they have sat on their arses for months, did they actually look for a new manager? I don't think so. When you look at the situation from afar, I think that Robbie Keane was always Dermot Desmond's preferred candidate. You know the way that he works. He will have a preferred candidate. He would have a preferred succession plan. Maybe that's why, the whole Scott Brown coming back to the club. Maybe that was part of the succession plan. Maybe promoting Johnny Hayes from the B team assistant manager into the first team was part of that long-term succession plan. And because the fans turned against the fact that Robbie Keane was going to become manager and it put Robbie Keane off, Dermot Desmond was probably telling Robbie Keane, don't care what they say. Who cares? Just you're a football manager. You just concentrate on your job and we'll protect you as much as you can. You can't protect a manager that's going to get dogs abuse walking down the street, can you? But anyway, who cares? It's in the past, as they say. But sometimes you need to get a bit crazy in life. Yeah, tell you one thing, the chat on here for the last week or so has been absolutely bonkers. I've had to just switch off from everything Celtic after I've done the lives. The board have once again got into a Janny for short term. They've got in a Janny for the short term, no budget, and deal with that, what we have. I think that, that there will be a lot of people that will see. My preference would have been a younger manager that took on a 3-4 year project and rebuilt everything from the ground up. The bonus that Martin O'Neill is here, if it is a year's contract with the option of a second year, hopefully he brings in some backroom staff that will help that transition. Hopefully it won't be such a massive jump. Celtic just don't seem to be. I mean, when you look at big teams, I'm not going to call Celtic a big team anymore. We can pretend that we're a big team all we want. The board can say that we're world class. We're not. when you look at big teams around Europe that sack a manager and then hire a manager within 24 hours sometimes. Celtic have known the situation since, and now maybe Robbie Keane had been spoken to by Dermot Desmond way down the line, and maybe that's why Robbie Keane did an interview a couple of months ago talking about, he doesn't care what people say about him. There is no smoke without fire, as they say. But anyway, we've got the right man, and yes, Martin O'Neill could be saw as a caretaker manager for the short term. But Ronnie Dyler was a short term answer. Ronnie Dyler came in, won the league for a couple of seasons, kept us going on that run to 9 in a row. Sometimes you need managers that are they're not going to be a long term answer. Ronnie Dyler was never a long term answer when you seen the amount of fans that stayed away from Celtic Park. You can only hope that maybe Celtic have went, right, we've already interviewed Sean for a job upstairs. Martin, you're going to have to bring in someone as backroom. Maybe Fozzie will still be back at the club. It's going to be Kelechi, yay or nay? Yay for me. I'm not too sure. It's all down to Martin O'Neill. Martin O'Neill wasn't 100% convinced in Kelechi Iheanacho. You've got to remember that. We could say yes all we want, but the truth is Martin O'Neill said when he asked Kelechi on his fitness and where he saw himself within his age and his fitness and being at the top of his game, he's not got the pace for a Martin O'Neill strike force. Doesn't have the pace at all. So it's going to be an interesting time. He may be kept on in the short term, but I think Celtic are still going to go out and bring in a striker that will be prolific. Sounds like the board don't want to meet Keane's requirements. Hell. No, I think it was. I do think it was the other way, because you don't go down the road of having various conversations with Keane, and because the talk was that he sought assurances from Dermot Desmond and O'Neill. That was the chat, that he sought assurances from them. True Irish legend, Keno. Jeez. But Stephen Johnson is in the house. Thank you for that. Says, come on, everyone, subscribe. We are at 26,964. It's not been officially announced by Celtic, so we are still on target to try and get to the 27,000 before it is officially confirmed by Celtic that Martin O'Neill is the manager. Goalkeeper, backup right back, backup left-footed, no centre back, no number 6, no number 8. There are so many players that we need at the club. It's unbelievable. Martin O'Neill. Martin O'Neill's basically going to have to come in and do this is a bigger rebuild than Martin O'Neill had to do his first time round. When Martin O'Neill came into the team, he had pretty much the core of a team that were there and thereabout. He only brought in, 3 or 4 players in his first transfer window. Casper Ho and Jordan Larsson up front. Jordan Larsson is never coming to Celtic. He's 28 years old. He's never been nowhere near as prolific as his father, and he's been a journeyman throughout his career. Jordan Larsson will not be coming to Celtic in any form. That lump of money in the bank won't be getting touched. He'll get to spend whatever money is burning from player sales. Query ran the numbers, Baz, and it's 100+ million coming in with the outgoings. Martin O'Neill won't touch the bank balance. Will it be, though? Because if Martin O'Neill manages to do the impossible, if Martin O'Neill manages to persuade Daisen Maeda, and I take it Quinny would be taken into consideration that we get into the Champions League. You cannot include money that is not. I can understand why you could say that's potential cash, but you can't run a business on potentials. You know, if we get to the Champions League, yes, there's 40 million coming in. If we sell Dyson Maeda for 20 million, there's 60 million. If we sell Arnie Engels for 20 million, you know, you're up to the 80 million mark. Yes, I get that, but you cannot go on ifs and buts when it's a business. You know, we can say ifs and buts when it comes to fans, but the board cannot look on potentials, because potentially last season we could have had a turnover of 140 million, but we won't have. Our turnover will be around about the 95 million mark, is my rough estimate. So we just need to wait and see. We need to wait and see. Robbie Keane knocked back because of the fan base. I use the term fan base loosely. Ooh. I just don't know if Martin O'Neill has the best ideas for transfers, but will perform as a manager even with bad players. I think that if we are to believe what is, I did say when you look at the last transfer window, people will say, well, that wasn't Martin O'Neill's transfers. Yes, it was. Martin O'Neill had to sign it off on every single one of those players that came in the last window. If he didn't like them and he didn't want them, he could have said no. But he's taken those players because he needed numbers for the squad. He needed players for the squad in case we got any more injuries. So, everything we do is an interim solution, used as a holding strategy to appease the fans, whether it's the manager, striker, left back, right back. There is no long-term thinking. And according to the club, there is a long-term strategy. There is a 5-year plan, but it's up in the air, isn't it? It's a very fluid plan that they have. It's a very fluid business plan. It's like, here's our goal. I think the main goal at Celtic, and the only goal at Celtic, is to win the league. You know, couple of cups. If you get a treble, fantastic. Europe, which is been proven time and time again by the board, is a bonus. Champions League is a bonus that Celtic need to keep on getting into for the financial side. You know, 40 million to a club like Celtic is a massive amount of cash. It is peanuts, absolute peanuts in the wider picture of European football. You know, you talk about Arsenal, 750 million income. 750 million income. That makes Celtic look like I'm not going to say it, but a Sunday League club. You know, it's crazy. And even with the size of the stadium that Celtic have, it just shows you that it's ticket sales and all the rest of it and merchandise. The money's where the TV is. And unfortunately, although there was a lot of big companies and there was a lot of TV interest with the league going down to the final day of the season and a lot of media wanting Hearts to win the league last season, let's see if that transfers into physical cash coming into the Scottish game. But you know, the people that run the country when it comes to football terms, they have to be the worst ever at. You would think it was Michael Nicholson that was concluding the TV deals, because it's the worst deals ever. Just papers over the cracks. I get what you're saying, and it puts so many things down the line, you know. And coat hanger face made the right call for a change. That was a no-brainer. He already knows the squad. Big fish in a small pond. Yes, that's what we are. Dud, Big Baz. Dud. Mid team, no ambition in Europe. This is very true. The reality is, manager achieving notable success at Celtic is not going to stay beyond 2 seasons. Is that down to the board not backing the manager? Brendan Rodgers fully backed in his first season. Second season, yes. Third season, no. Ange Postecoglou, fully backed in his first season, fully backed in his second season. He knows what's needed in the third season, and Ange Postecoglou even said, what's the difference between buying a £10 million player to a £2 million player? Turning a £2 million player into a 10 million, you could buy a £10 million player and turn them into a £20-30 million player. That was Ange Postecoglou's words. And I kind of get the feeling that kind of put the frighteners up the board's jacksies. And we all know that Celtic are going to consistently spend £20 million on a couple of players. They don't have it. You know, it's crazy. But anyway, I wanted a younger, hungrier manager for over 3-5 years, but it's Martin O'Neill. Yeah, there's one thing. Martin O'Neill will get the backing of the fans. Martin O'Neill will be a legend going into next season for doing what he did. The motivational talks that he did with the players. There's a lot of players that are going to be on holiday right now, going on the phone to their agent. Just get me another club quickly. You know, just tell Celtic that we're looking for another club, because they're not going to get picked by Martin O'Neill. So was Rodgers right then that they want a caretaker, not a manager? Nicholson is like the Grim Reaper. No life in him at all. This is very true. Big team with a small mentality at board level. Is it though? We're a big team in Scotland. Do you know, when you look at... I was there through the Ronnie years. Yep, it was the best. I've said it before. And you ask anybody that was a bus convener in those years, brilliant time to go to games. Got as many tickets as you wanted. Got as many tickets for Hampden as you wanted. Away games were a blast. Away games were a blast under Ronnie Dyler. Hard to believe that Kelechi is 29 and in the shape he is. Yeah, exactly, and that's why Martin O'Neill is a bit dubious about his fitness levels. Hence the reason that Kelechi Iheanacho has went out and got a personal trainer straight away over the summer. You know, he's thought, I've got 5 weeks to really get my fitness. You know, I'm not going to go and sit on a beach for 4 or 5 weeks or 3 weeks like the rest of the lads. I'm going to use the next 3 weeks to really get my fitness up. Kelechi and Osmond as a front pairing could be good. I'm going to say that we need someone with a bit of height. You've got to remember, John Hartson is a big lad. You know, and not just his physical. I've stood in between John Hartson and Chris Sutton, and I'm like, and I'm about the same size as the captain, Cal McGregor. And I'm standing, and I'm like, hey, Sutton, you're bigger than what I thought. I mean, they're two big geezers. There's nobody like that in the Celtic team. Nobody like it at all. Anyway, Kelechi was good for the dressing room in a late match auction. But you're on 30 plus grand for Kelechi. You're not getting Kelechi Iheanacho for under 20 grand a week. That's a lot of money to Celtic. I would like to see someone with some pace in midfield. Definitely. Jock won the big cup with no budget. The board seem to think they can do that as well. Imagine your 74-year-old dad about to be put through this much stress. Martin would have spoke it through with his family, and his missus. Scott Brown is married to Stephen Whittaker, so you wouldn't get Bruni on his own. Lol. He's not married to Stephen Whittaker, and Stephen Whittaker's got another job. He's away and got another job somewhere else, hasn't he? Do you think we can get rid of Nicholson soon? Nope. He's a yes man to Dermot Desmond. Hence the reason that Dermot Desmond is concluding negotiations on everything to do with Celtic manager, and not the man that brought in Wilfred Nancy. Manager and player turnover over 2 seasons is going to be the norm for the foreseeable future. They'll be visiting Bobo in the big house if he's still there. Um, Nicholson is a she-man. I take that back. I'm being that's terrible. Terrible. You can't count on champions money. Look what happened last season. Yes, exactly. Um, I'd absolutely take Jordan Larson. He doesn't play full 90 for Copenhagen, but he's absolutely an upgrade in our current wingers. Like, get past defenders and has a nice shot on him. Yeah, I think that one, that ship's well sailed. Don't know. James McCarthy is player manager. He played for Ireland. Someone's on the piss take this morning. Big piss take this morning. I'm going to jump through to the end of these because I'm only staying on for half an hour. There is football on today, so I am going to have a look and see what football is on. Spend the money instead of keeping it in the bank. DD will not take the psh out of Martin O'Neill, period. You'll have played right into the DD hands, keeping his yes man. Then halfway through the season, if not going well, you'll all turn on Martin O'Neill and the board again, making us a laughing stock. There's one thing for sure, Celtic do need to get their finger out their proverbial butts when it comes to player transitions. We need to get in as much players as we can before the first day of training. And the first day of training is now around about 4 weeks away. So although Martin O'Neill, I tell you one thing, I'm going to get, I'll need to get some good questions into Maidstone Kirkcaldy for Martin O'Neill for next weekend. That's for sure. Once he is paraded as Celtic manager, I'm waiting for these people to turn on Martin O'Neill. Watch the space. It started already. We aren't getting the guy from Bodo, a mid-team Serie Prem or La Liga side. Will take a punt on him as well, with spare change to them. This is true. We'll wait and see. Scotland, Bolivia. Yes, Scotland, Bolivia, and I think that's 8 p.m. time tonight. Another new channel. Baz does anger management. What a week. I'll tell you one thing. What a week. And there was sometimes during the week I was like, Jesus. And fans are just so toxic. Thank God it is all done and dusted. And we have Martin O'Neill as the manager. Whittaker signed as boss at Stirling yesterday, so Brown is free. I still think that Scott Brown, I think it's going to be a case of watch this space. I think Scott Brown could be back at the club in some capacity. Be interesting. Catch you later on, Stephen. I hope all goes well today at the doctor's. What doesn't add up to me, if it was Martin's job and he wanted it, why did they interview Keane? And then all of a sudden, Martin's taking it. It seems like Keane knew he wouldn't be liked or backed. I think it is the case that he wouldn't be liked, David. From what some of the mainstream media journalists were reporting, Keane had sought assurances from Martin O'Neill and Dermot Desmond that he would be fully backed. And I think Keane's just went, I don't need this shit in my life. I don't need this. I don't need this aggravation. I don't know, the potential threats on him and his family and stuff, because it would happen. I don't know, it would happen. But anyway, I would like to think that Dermot Desmond would take the piss out of anyone he needs to. Whether Martin O'Neill puts up with it is another question. Well, he didn't really put up with it all those years ago. How many draws will Scotland get through in the World Cup? Scotland will not get through the first round in the World Cup. Yeah, we're getting so close. There's still time. There is still time to get to that 27,000 before the official announcement from Celtic on Monday morning. So if you haven't subscribed, let's get to 27,000 before Celtic finish. Football was dire under O'Neill. Oh, it started. It started. Can't believe it's morning and Celtic are still silent. Unbelievable. They will have to wait till they announce it to the... I'm surprised that Celtic leaked the information. Don't know. It wouldn't have came from Martin O'Neill. Because Martin O'Neill's a sly old fox. He's not going to phone up the. He's not a Brendan Rodgers. He's not going to phone up the media and go, "I guess what, mate? I'm going to the job. Going to the job." Um, hmm, yeah. Anyway, we'll just wait till the official announcement, and maybe it is because they're working on the backroom stuff. Like I say, Sean Maloney was getting a job upstairs, isn't he? Anyway, that is me done and dusted for this morning. It's all going to be about speculation, speculation, speculation. Um, And there's one headline. Celtic supporters unfairly slandered over opposition to Robbie Keane. Unfairly slandered? Um, that's a big comment in that. But anyway, we'll leave it because Robbie Keane is not even in the talking anymore. It is all about Martin O'Neill. Leicestershire Live. Now, man, there's an interesting one because Martin O'Neill was down in that neck of the woods. Martin O'Neill is poised to stay on as Celtic manager. The 74-year-old former Leicester City boss, who had 2 interim spells at Celtic last season, on their ill-fated tenure of Wilfred Nancy, navigated the crisis, guided the club to the Premiership title and the Scottish Cup. He had talks about the role in faced competition from ex-Celtic striker Robbie Keane, who was also interviewed by Dermot Desmond. This is coming from the Leicestershire Live. He is now expected to sign a 1-year contract with the further option of that. The former Celtic midfielder, it's just saying Stilian Petrov. Stilian Petrov says that the 1-year deal is just to stabilise the club. The last couple of months, he has shown that he's such a great character. But here's the question. If they win next year again, what's going to happen? O'Neill was always going to be the first choice. If he agreed, he showed the same energy and determination to work for this great club. Complicity, motivation, man management is everything that he's done in his career. He's a great motivator and he demands a very high performance from every single player. He keeps everything simple, trusts his staff. When you have that, you have a manager with his pedigree. Only he can achieve his best or the best for the club. There we go. Stilian Petrov having his say on the Celtic manager update. Anyway, that is me done and dusted for Saturday morning. I'm going to just go and see what other games of football is on today. I think that I will take in the Scotland game tonight. That will be on the other channel, Buzz Does Football. Just keep this Celtic, and we'll win the league by 20 points next season. They all had their chance, and this is very true. Have a great weekend, Buzz. Martin O'Neill, 4th era commence. Here we go, 10 in a row. Let's not get too excited about 10 in a row just yet. Of course we will. We're Celtic fans. Have a fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are all around the world.